Welcome back. I got back here. I guess I should recover a little bit. Also, I found the last weapon. It was actually where my fortune was told from the beginning of the game. It was basically an iron pipe. I had to read about that. It's also something else I'm curious about. I was thinking of documents. I should have Project Gestalt now. Alright, here we have. I want to take a look at it quickly. As noted in the previous report, implementation of Gestalt mode can prevent the white chlorination syndrome we recently experienced. Transfer of bodily information to civilization repressed replicants is proceeding as planned, with the genes of the original safely stored inside. Our role as surveillance androids to prepare for when the incurable bacterial disease eventually dies out is also underway. So far, this is proceeding without issue. Observer 21, codename Popola. This one for Devila, probably. This document discusses potential strategies for the relapse cases we have observed in recent years. The term relapse, of course, refers to the catastrophic loss of sentience seen in certain gestalts. This syndrome has defied even our most pessimistic initial estimates and continues to trend upward with disturbing speed. With some relapse gestalts beginning to attack replicants, there is an urgent need to take comprehensive action. We remain convinced that an unknown technological defect in the gestalt transformation process is responsible for the condition, but so far have been unable to confirm this theory. Research of this condition is now our top priority and looks likely to continue for some time. Codename Devila. Shorthand minutes of Case 23, Emergency Response Conference, Committee Special Meeting. Issue: Observed upward trend in relapses. Noted and discussed. Acceleration of risk. Okay, a bunch of problems. Order a collection of guidance and release code for Chuck alongside Weiss launched. Preparations to launch Weiss decoding system for above. And Noir. Debate over using codename Noir for human restoration schedule. Codename Popola and Devila. Here we have... that must be Yona. Or is that the sister? We have determined that the rise of relapse was due to an unexpected spike in the sentience of replicants, as well as the genetic instability within the original Gestalt. It seems the original's effect on bodies that have undergone the Gestalt process was not anticipated in advance. Immediate action must be undertaken to identify the links between this trend and the original Gestalt, along with its daughter, the relapsed case known as Yona. The Observer Contact Group is growing uneasy, so finding a solution to the relapse issue should be considered a top priority. See other reports for more details. Codename Popola. So Yona's a relapse. Is that as in she has the black scrawl? She relapsed the black scrawl, perhaps? Anyway, yeah. Also, while I have to beat the shades that are in the coming room, I'd like to ask anyone who might be more familiar with the game than me, I guess the Drakengard thing too, if it connects. What do you think the young versus older protagonists thing that they did? Basically, Japan, from what I understand, the original protagonist was younger, and it was his sister that he was saving. And for Western releases, they decided to make an older protagonist. There was some debate whether the younger or the older was the original, but from what I can gather, the younger is the original. They're supposed to be mostly the same game, other than a few differences, I assume basically based on the brother-sister dynamic versus the father-daughter dynamic. But what do you think of that? Do you like the older protagonist better, or do you like the younger one? I mean, I'm not familiar enough with the younger one to say which one I prefer. I'd have to see game footage of it. It just seems weird to have a young guy for me, only because I'm used to this guy, the old one. They call him Papa Nier versus, I guess, Brother Nier. So yeah, I just want to know what your opinions on that is. When they changed that for the Western audiences, and even Japan got both versions on the 360 and the PS3. So I mean, they can technically play both, while we can only play one of them. I guess on the 360, even Japan is mostly seen as a Western-based console, after it's made in the West. I guess that's why they released it there with the older one. Anyways, I'd just like to know your opinions on it. I might watch some cutscenes or some game footage from the younger guy. I want to see, unfortunately, since I don't know Japanese, it might be hard unless someone has a subtitled version. I want to see how the dynamic changes between Weiss, the Nier character, Kaine, and Emil, because I guess this guy's more of a father figure to everyone. Granted, I don't even know why Kaine is still following him. I don't even know why she follows us until we get a meal in our party, really. Whatever. Anyways, let's go on, because I did open this door, but I know it's a battle, but I skipped the cutscene because I didn't watch it yet. I just wanted to see if there was maybe a save or a weapon or something. Anyways, let's go and watch this. The game is most likely ending very soon. The only thing I can gather is the Shadowlord here is technically the shade of Chuck, or the main character. There's Yona. Is she? I think she's grown up. Her hair wasn't that long.
Yona.
Watch it. It's the Shadowlord. Anyways, I got all weapons, which means I should be able to get a slightly better ending. Granted, I can't get the... There's no such thing as a good ending, though. It's the more complete ending, we'll call it. I have to play it a second time to get the most complete one. And I'm not going to call it good, because from my understanding, there is no such thing as good in this game. Only more complete. So here's... The main protagonist's body is merely a shell for this guy.
I'll kill you.
He's got Grimoire Nier with him.
Hold nothing back.
And try. Grimoire Noir. I don't know why I call him Grimoire Nier or something. That was stupid. Anyways, he's not that hard right now.
Mere tool.
Man, always being too fast.
Be careful.
What?
You too.
He just fell down. Well, not fell down. I got Book Burner. This guy's not even that hard. He seems to really be focusing on the freaking Kaine.
Wait.
She has indeed grown.
Dad.
Yona.
I guess he's not considered the real dad. That one is.
Dad. Stop. Please. I don't want this anymore. I don't need someone else's body. I don't want it. There's another girl inside this body. I can hear her. She keeps crying. She says she wants to see her dad.
Yona's been possessed?
This girl loves her father too, as much as I do. She loves him just as much. It's not right that she can't see him. Are you Dad?
Yes, I am. Let's go home.
I don't think the Shadowlord's going to allow that. Someone's going to die. I'm calling it now. What, she's going to kill herself?
I'm sorry, Dad. I don't know what to... I'm so very sorry. I love you, Dad. I love you.
Hurry! The shade that possessed her is gone.
Nope, not yet.
Kaine, watch over Yono.
Can't even attack him right now.
You want me to understand your sadness? You think I'm gonna sympathize with you? I swore to protect my daughter and my friends.
Can't go to
If
them.
someone puts them in danger,
So I have to
stand
listen to this,
aside
that's
or
why.
be cut down.
Oh, there he is now.
Come on.
Whoa!
Go.
Alright then. Ugh. There we go, now I can attack him. Ugh. Yeah, I got plenty of health cells I can use. How about that? Whoa, man, that's intense. Oh yeah, how about this? Whoa! That happened really fast. I didn't even see that coming. Well then, that's what a health salve is for, basically. Truthfully, this seems pretty easy for some reason. More Weiss. What is your goal here? Now that you have all your memories. Or not.
Brother, one moment, please.
Seems to be
You
tired.
okay?
Fine, just fine. All right, no, I'm not.
Weiss.
It seems that some headstrong idiot has decided to push me beyond my limits. I should have taken that job as a cookbook when I had the chance.
Weiss, I'm sorry.
Only joking. I hate cookbooks.
But
Let's go out of the way. I have one final task to fulfill.
where are you going?
Why, to stop him, of course. But after that, it's up to you. Only you can see this battle to its conclusion. I wish you luck, my friend.
You can't. I swore to fight by your side.
You are an exceedingly stubborn man. You know that, don't you? Perhaps that's why I've so enjoyed our time together. But I fear this is where our journey ends.
Weiss!
Oh, and remember what I told you about using my full name? Well, forget it. I've grown rather fond of Weiss.
Weiss. I knew you'd come around.
Don't let it go to your head now.
One final task for him. Grimoire Weiss has lost all of his powers. Whoa, damn!
I have something to defend. I have a reason
Ugh.
to live.
This guy's just shooting bullet hell at me. Ugh! And without Weiss. Whoa! Damn, man, this is intense. I can't get close to him at all. Oh, crap. Does that mean I have no... Wait. Items, good. Okay, health cell. Because this is rather intense. I can barely get to him. Oh, damn, this battle. God. I'm getting close. Okay, items. No, items. Another health cell. There we go. Okay, I gotta probably do this for now. Try and hit everything. I don't have any magic anyway. Ah, there we go. Now with that, we've defeated the Shadowlord, supposedly.
Yona,
A world
are
in
you all
flux. No?
right? Oh God, no.
Oh, please, the girl is fine.
Weiss? Where are you? I can't see you.
That is because I have lost my physical form.
Ooh, he's transcended.
Doubtless my voice will be the next to go, so listen closely. Your Yona is safe. Do not mourn her, and do not give up hope. Instead, you must call her back to you.
How do I do that?
Use your memories. Recall the times you spent with Yona. Present her with proof that the two of you live still, and that your lives have meaning.
I don't know.
Typical. But take heart. I know you can do it.
What's my favorite food? Cookies. What's my favorite book? That's my magic storybook. What's my favorite place? Home. As long as you're around. What's my favorite flower? The lunar tear, of course. Okay, one more question. Who do I love more than anyone?
You love Chuck, right? Or your dad. But do I put Dad or Chuck? Interesting, actually. Should I put Chuck? Or should I put... hold on a second. Let me check something. Should I put... do I put my name or should I put Dad? Huh. That's an interesting question. I mean, should I put my real name? Or put Dad? That's an interesting question, actually. Who do I love more than anyone? I know what the answer is, definitely. It's just of how to write it is what confuses me. Should I put the protagonist's name itself? Let's try this out.
Dad?
Yona.
Hey, look, she finally gets to see Kaine.
Is this my body?
Yes, yours, and yours alone.
You look stronger than before. You look good.
Well, you haven't seen me for a long time.
Have I been asleep?
I think so.
Wow. It's like I'm a princess from some fairy tale.
I'm so happy, Yona. I'm so very happy.
Oh, Dad.
Kaine?
You two have a good life. Okay?
Where are you gonna go, Kaine?
Oh, I'll...
You could stay with us.
Thanks, but I'll pass. You know how it is. I got my own shit to take care of.
What do you mean?
Personal shit. That doesn't involve you. Take it easy, alright?
She is still a Shay, right?
Dad, look. It's beautiful. For the longest time, someone kept calling out to me, wanting to see the light. And now, we can finally see it.
Can the world simply go back to normal? Considering all of Facade seems to have joined in. So what's the point of that face thing he had anyway? Wait. No, this is like the past, isn't it?
Thanks, Dad. It's so sunny today.
Yeah. It sure is.
That looked like younger Yona. Huh. That seemed to have just ended. It's probably not the complete ending, so I can't really call a conclusion from it. Whatever it meant. Anyway, but for now, let's presume that I finished the game, but I'm not done yet. I have my plan for it right now. I was thinking about it while I was waiting to record this last part, and if it's a bit shorter, so be it. I could use a shorter part to help fill in my next few days. I won't be going back to my normal recording schedule. Like, I know I've been uploading daily still, but for me it's been very hard to do, to even get it out like that. So this will help me out a little bit. Next week, for sure, I go back to normal. And I should hopefully increase my output a little bit. I'm hoping. And with this done, I'm going to be soon taking my request in for the next poll, for the next bunch of Let's Plays, because now that I've mostly finished this, what I'm going to do is most likely do a once-a-week recording of the New Game Plus, and I will record it in its entirety, but I won't be doing any of the quests I didn't finish. I am not doing that last quest. It is annoying. No, I am not doing Life in the Sands at all. It's not worth it. If I don't need it to get the good ending, I am not going to bother. Okay, not the good ending, the complete ending. I'm only going to do what I need to get the extra story and the complete ending. That's it. I want to see it. Because from my understanding is you can't really appreciate the story unless you've seen the complete ending. Because apparently if you see that, you really get a good understanding of the story itself. Anyways, I guess I should start, since this is the technical end, I guess I should start going over my thoughts of the game. Well, I would have never played this had it not been for Mad Cat's suggestion, which, yeah, I never even heard of this game or Drakengard, or the fact that I didn't even know they were related until much later on, actually. So, overall, it's a pretty good game. It's very interesting. I did like the combat of it. The side questing, at first, I kind of saw it as a diversion, but when you actually get to them and listen to what the characters say to each other, you can appreciate the side quests a little bit more. One or two of them are annoying, mainly Life in the Sands being the most annoying of them all. Can't stand that one. But other than that, I like them, because it is nice to hear the dialogue between the characters, mainly Vice and the main character, sometimes Kaine and Emil. I liked all the characters so far. Let me think here. I have no problem with Kaine either, despite her, rough attitude or anything. Emil actually becomes a bit more positive as it goes along, but of course he kills himself in the end. Well, maybe he doesn't kill himself, but he at least, he does a sacrifice of his own, of some sort. The story is definitely quite, I wouldn't call it outright depressing. I've actually seen worse. It's merely pessimistic, I'd call it. It kind of has, it's kind of hopeful, but it says don't put your hopes up for it, if that sounds correct. But yeah, graphically it was interesting, stylistically. World a bit smaller than I thought it would be. The music was definitely a strong point, though. I've listened to quite a bit of it on my own, and it is definitely something. It's unique, and it's, though not catchy or not memorable, because it's hard to be memorable when it's a bunch of chanting, but it's definitely a top-tier soundtrack. I mean, mostly good things to say about it. I actually don't have much in the negatives to say, really. The only slight nitpicking is the fact that I wasn't warned about the 5-year thing in the game, and thus blocking me out of Yona's side quest period, that one, so I can't finish it at all. But other than that, I have no real complaints about the game. Even graphically, I didn't find any problems with it. Musically, nothing wrong. Story-wise, nothing wrong. Gameplay-wise, you know what? Nothing wrong either. I felt it was solid. So because I have very little negatives to say, then you know what? Everything else is a positive. Length-wise, it's decent. I'm gonna say. You know what? It doesn't need to be longer than it is, I'd say. Granted, with the new game plus that I kind of have to do to get the complete story, I'm gonna call this the final part, with the rest being kind of extras. Yeah, now I'm going to do Nier Extra, but this is going to be easier because I'm going to record it straight on. Of course, okay. We're going to save here. Okay. Exit the clear data save screen. Yes. Ending B. Load your clear data after completing the game to be able to experience Kaine's story. Uh-huh. Call her back. Kaine's story. I definitely want to experience that. Let me just quickly go here. So, ending A. So let's go into here quickly. I'm not going to start it. I'm going to save it for its own part. I just want to see where it brings me. Kaine's story. Definitely something I want to see and I want to, record.
Whenever I interacted with Kaine,
starts from here.
I was reminded about something from my past. Maybe my mind has been confusing her with my sister this whole time. Here we go.
So it starts me when we free Kaine. I wonder why they did this, though. So I got ending B. That's right. I'll have plenty of time to confirm. I won't be. This is going to go to like Kaine's dreams, discrimination. The sound of rain filled the village. The steep cliffs that surrounded the area magnified sound, causing even the slightest drizzle to rattle like a thunderstorm. Thin wisps of smoke streamed from huts as the villagers huddled in their homes and waited out the rain. A single child, however, had braved the downpour and was now wandering slowly toward the wooden, hawk-shaped weather vane at the center of town. The wanderer reached the vane, which had existed for as long as any could remember, and stared. The child's face was simultaneously delicate and fierce, like a teacup that had survived a shipwreck. Those traits combined with pale white skin to give the face an almost sexless quality. If the beak turns east, I go home. If it stays west, then The child blinked. Rain slowly dripped down the young one's short hair and began its long descent to the ground. Come on! Come on! The child felt a slight breeze and watched as the vein slowly creaked to life. Spinning this way and that for a moment, it finally settled with the beak pointing firmly toward the east. East? Really? Before the vein could move again, a jagged rock came spinning and tumbling through the air, finally striking home against the child's head. The force of the blow dropped the child to the ground as a hail of stones began to fall all around. Oh no, they found me! By the way, she's in the dream world with the book. A heartbreaking smile crept across the child's face as the stones continued their assault. Through the rain, the sound of multiple footsteps grew louder before a voice rang out. Yoo-hoo, Kaine! The voice belonged to Demo, the worst of all the bullies in the area. As Kaine struggled to stand, a final stone came skittering through the mud and bounced against her foot. Blood oozed from a cut above her eye and blurred her vision, but she could make out the shapes of Daimo and his usual gang of idiots. The boy seemed taken aback for a moment by Kaine's seemingly indifference to the blood dripping from her face, but quickly regained his bravado. What's up, freak? You like the rain? You like getting all wet? Or did you finally decide to run away from home? Though she knew it was futile, Kaine turned to leave. Before she could get more than a few steps, the other children scrambled to surround her, cruelty burning in their eyes. Kaine knew those were not the only eyes on her. The tormentor's parents watched from the safety of their homes. She was attuned to this sensation. It was one she had experienced many times before. While some villagers simply turned a blind eye to the actions of their children, many encouraged it openly. In a society ruled by superstitions and fear, Kaine was something to be hated, and if possible destroyed. I didn't say you could leave, freak. Daimo's words chewed at her like a worm through an apple. He can't hurt me, she lied to herself. Be strong, be brave. He can't hurt me, he can't hurt me, he can't hurt... Oh look, the little freak is gonna cry. What's wrong? Are you sad that everyone hates you and wants you dead? Kaine prayed for the rain to flood down and carry her away from a world that seemed to have no place for her. But if there were gods, they chose to ignore her. As Daimo crept ever closer, the clouds began to thin and the rain slowed. Even the weather hates me. I'm useless, a failure. I wish Daimo's rock had taken my head off. Kaine couldn't meet Daimo's leering gaze. She lowered her eyes and stared at the muddy ground below. The bully moved forward until he was inches away. She could smell the scent of old meat on his breath. The boy grabbed Kaine's face with thick fingers and yanked it upward. She tried to turn away, but he forced her gaze back and jammed his thumb against her eyelid to pry it open. You're a freak. No, I'm not. Did you say no? Daimo grinned evilly. You don't say no to me. No one says no to me. Not even taking his attention from Kaine, he called his cohorts. Come on, guys. Let's give the freak what she deserves. As soon as Daimo finished, kicks and blows began to rain down upon Kaine. Daimo paused, still grinning, as Kaine curled into a ball and tried to make her pain stop. I don't get you, freak. What you acting like a girl for, huh? Everyone knows what you really are. Kaine ignored the question, choosing instead to stare at the weather vane. It continued to point east, as if supremely confident about the future it had chosen for her. Go home? Yeah, that's a funny joke for someone with dead parents and no home to go to. Freak, chanted the children. Freak, freak, freak. Kaine closed her eyes and listened to the rain, waiting for the pain to start again. As the clutching hands of the village children closed around her, she bent her mind to the sound of the rain, letting it become her world entire. The rain fell, but the pain never came. Only when the laughter of her tormentors turned to terrified cries did she dare open a single blood-caked eye. Kaine was shocked to see Daimo sprawl on the ground, holding his head and screaming in pain. She could see blood welling from spaces between his fat, twisted fingers. Oh my god, he's crying. He's actually crying. Deprived of their leader, the other children glanced back and forth between themselves, as if waiting for someone to step forward and take charge. When no savior emerged, they began an uneasy shuffle away from Kaine. But the young girl was the least of their concerns. Instead, their attention was wrapped on the ancient woman standing a few feet away. After struggle for breath for a moment, she finally spoke in a voice thick with rage. Hurts like a bitch, don't it? Now, I suggest you scatter before I throw another one. And if any of you little bastards ever touch my Kaine again, I'll do far worse than throw a rock. You can count on it. The old woman crouched down and gently touched the hand Daimo was using to cover the wound. Before he could think to protest, she ground her palm into the wound and twisted back and forth. Ow! He screamed, leaping to his feet. Stop it! What are you doing? Quit whining. Ain't no one ever died from a scratch. You hit me with a rock, you stupid bitch. A big one. That could have killed me. The old woman shrugged. Death is the best cure for stupid. Daimo's face twisted with rage at her words. Locking his eyes on Kaine, he took a step backward and spat on the ground. Get out! Leave this village. No one wants you here. Either of you. Seeing the old woman grab another stone, Daimo and his companions turned tail and ran. As they fled, the old woman grabbed her side and barked out a single laugh. Ha! Look at the fat boy go! Guess he's healthy enough to run from a fight. The woman smiled faint as she turned her attention to Kaine. Kneeling down, she removed her shawl and placed it around the young girl's shoulders, then produced a cloth from the folds of her dress and began blotting the blood on her forehead. Oh, Kaine, she said, why didn't you fight back? You're stronger than that lot. The words of her grandmother stung Kaine as she turned away. Don't be nice to me, she said. I don't deserve it. Nothing matters anymore. Her tears held in check for so long finally began to fall on the muddy ground below. Everyone hates me. They think I cause bad things to happen. They think I'm a freak. I wish I was dead. As Kaine's tears turned to sobs, she felt her grandmother's hands on her shoulders. Despite her advanced age and diminutive size, she was a woman of surprising strength, and Kaine found herself unable to turn away. Just had to scratch my ear. I didn't actually mean to commit myself to this, but I didn't think this would happen. Don't talk like that, Kaine. It's a river wide and deep that flows between the realms of this world and the next, and it grants no mercy to any that attempt to cross it. You gotta do it to fight until your last breath. Understand? The old woman tightened her grip and tried to still the tremor in her voice. You know the pain of losing someone close to you, Kaine. You know because you survived it. As the words hit home, Kaine was struck by the force of her love for the old woman. As a young child, she didn't even know her grandmother, but when her parents died, the woman quickly accepted her as her own. Grandma, as Kaine called her, was cunning, vulgar, and quick to violence, and their first few years together had not been easy. But with each year that passed, Kaine and her grandmother had grown closer. However, it was only now, sitting in the mud with tears and blood caking her face, that Kaine truly understood the depths of her affection. Here was a woman who had seen hard times, who had seen death, who had fought through all these things and somehow emerged on the other side. If anyone could understand Kaine's pain and loneliness, it was her. Do I make you sick, Grandma? Of course not. Don't be an ass. Kaine drew her grandmother's moth-eaten shawl around her body and shuddered. But my body, it's not normal. If I was normal, then Mom and Dad wouldn't... Hush, interrupted Grandma. I'll hear not another word of this nonsense. You're my granddaughter, and I love you. And if folks have a problem with that, they can just go to hell. With that, the old woman reached out and placed a wreath of dried flowers in Kaine's hair. The skill it took to bend the flowers without breaking the stem or losing a single petal was remarkable, and the beauty of it made Kaine want to cry all over again. Oh my gosh, these are lunar tears. Grandma, you made this for me? Lunar tears were legendary flowers. Most people could live their entire lives without ever seeing one. Yet, her grandmother had somehow collected a dozen or more. Kaine reached up and touched the wreath as if she couldn't believe it was real. Where did you find these? Oh, you know, just stumbled on them one day while I was out doing the shopping. The old woman turned away as she was explaining, leading Kaine to suspect that the search had been much more difficult than she was letting on. The pains she took to construct the ornament, let alone track down the flowers used in the construction, made Kaine's heart hurt. She reached up and gently adjusted the wreath, admiring the way it felt between her fingers. Don't quit. Didn't quite turn out right, said her grandmother as she squinted at it. The old hands have trouble with delicate work, but it sure looks good on a pretty girl like you. Kaine blushed and turned away. You think I'm pretty? Of course you are. What a fool thing to say. Thank you, Grandma. Her grandmother smiled. We're going to be fine, you and me, she said. As long as we got each other, we'll be just fine. Kaine took her grandmother's hand in hers, and the two of them struggled to their feet. As they began to walk the long walk home, Kaine gripped the hand with all her might, as if trying to stop smoke from drifting away on the wind. The rain had stopped. Kaine stood beneath the weather vane, watching it spin in lazy circles, no longer caring about the direction it faced when it stopped. I don't need to escape. I have a home now. Grandma loves me, and that's enough. Even if it's us against the world. Kaine let her gaze drift up past the vane and into the cloudy sky. The last faint hints of a rainbow were slowly fading. As she turned and headed for home, the light scattered into a million particles and vanished, seemingly taken away on the breeze. Kaine's dreams, daily life. Wow, we're still in her dreams? In the distance, Kaine heard the steady sounds of an axe striking wood. The noise had a purposeful quality to it, as if she was hearing a master woodsman go about his work. The flower being produced, however, was as far from a work of art as could be. Pieces of every shape and size were being flung about a barren yard with wild abandon. Anyone trying to stack such wood would probably die of frustration before the job was through. Stupid piece of shit axe. Kaine's grandmother flailed away with the axe, filling the air with both splinters and wood and words that would make the most hardened sailor blush. Grandma, called Kaine. What? Yelled the woman, taking her eyes off the wood for a moment. Oh, it's you, Kaine? Don't get too close, or I might take your goddamn foot off by mistake. She brought the axe down on a piece of wood, sending chips flying in every direction. One spun past Kaine, close enough to her to hear the whistle, at which point she decided to step back. Once she'd scuttled to a safe distance, she cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, Grandma! Do you need help? I can get you water or lunch or a new axe or something. The axe, poised to strike another wobbly blow, paused in midair. The old woman considered her granddaughter's offer for a moment, then smiled. Tell you what, since I'm doing such a piss-poor job of chopping, why don't you come here and take over so I can go get the water? Shades have been restless lately, you know. I don't want you run into one of them bastards. Relinquishing the axe, her grandmother picked up a long pole with wooden buckets on either end. Gathering water was by far more difficult than two jobs, but Kaine knew better than to complain. Once Grandma's mind was set, there's no changing it. Kaine did her best to help with chores, but Grandma took every task that required travel to the village. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kaine knew the real reason. She didn't want her granddaughter to be taunted and harassed by the villagers. Once Kaine moved in, Grandma decided to take up residence at a good distance from the area. Out of sight, out of mind seemed to be the best policy when it came to the villagers and her granddaughter, and rare were the days when any but the two of them could be found on the rocky acre of land they called home. Kaine enjoyed the solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandmother was forced to spend her golden years in such a place. After watching her grandmother leave, Kaine turned her attention to the task at hand. She had never chopped wood before in her life, and soon discovered why the old woman hated the chore. Swing after swing of the axe produced only a tiny crack in the wood, and when she finally managed to connect with a solid stroke, the tool embedded itself in the log and refused to budge. Frustrated, Kaine swung the axe around her head and threw it, log and all, across the yard. Damn it! Crap! She suddenly understood the joy her grandmother felt in a good curse. Happier now, she picked up the axe, forced it from the wood, and resumed chopping. She had a natural skill with the blade, but the task was challenging, and blisters soon began to form on her small pink hands. This is tough, and my logs are all weird sizes. Spitting on her palms, ignoring the pain, Kaine redoubled her efforts. Just as she was developing a rhythm, Grandma returned from the village. Setting down her buckets with a small sigh, she took one look at the logs and coughed out a wheezy laugh. Pretty clumsy, girl. You better practice if you... Her grandmother suddenly collapsed to her knees, causing one of the buckets to wobble precariously. Eyes wide, Kaine dropped the axe and ran to her grandmother's side. Grandma! The old woman shook her head and pointed a trembling finger at the bucket. Get the bucket. Can't let it spill. Kaine steadied the bucket with a foot as she knelt by her grandmother. A small bit of water sloshed over the side and made a new home in the hem of her dress, but Kaine didn't notice. Grandma, what's happening? Crazed with panic, she grabbed her grandmother by the shoulder and shook. After a moment, the woman lifted her arms and batted Kaine away. Stop that! Just stop now, she cried, breathing heavily. It ain't like I'm dying. I'm tired from the trip is all. Kaine desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the old woman's shaking hands and worn face told her more than words ever could. Her grandmother had lived a long, hard life, and seemed the bill was coming due. The time when her grandmother watched over Kaine was ending. Sooner than either of them had feared, the positions would be reversed. The next morning, Kaine came to the side of her grandmother's bed and took her wrinkled hand. Grandma, you're sick, and you need medicine. I'm going to the village. The old woman shook her head and tried to raise, but Kaine gently pushed her down. It's all right, she said. I'll be fine. Her grandmother fixed her with a gaze that could melt steel. After what seemed an eternity, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed. Well, I don't like it, goddammit, but I guess I should quit being so stubborn and let you grow up. The old woman watched as Kaine strapped on her boots and made her way down the road to the village. Hours later, as an unseen sun made its way across the dark and rainy sky, she was still watching. Kaine moved at a brisk pace, checking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money her grandmother gave her was still there. Every noise caused her to spin on her heels, making sure she wasn't being stalked by a shade, or worse, Daimon and his gang. But she encountered neither tormentors nor shades, and Kaine finally found herself at the entrance to the village. The few adults she could see glanced sideways at her, then muttered to each other behind raised hands before slinking away in the shadows. Her heart racing, Kaine took a series of rapid, shallow breaths and tried to calm herself. I have to prove myself. I have to help Grandma. I have to be strong. She chanted those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way. Finally, her eyes settled on a rotund older woman who was angrily waving her arms in the air and telling anyone who would listen exactly what she thought of Kaine's presence. Hey, lady, said Kaine with a bravado she did not feel. Where's the apothecary? The woman's flabby cheeks shook in bewildered anger. How dare this thing speak to me? They seemed to say, but Kaine saw that her eyes held a different emotion. Fear. Yeah, we're both scared, lady. Trust me on this one. Which way? Kaine repeated. The The woman pointed at a small building to her right before hitching up her dress and stumbling off in the other direction. Kaine cringed, expecting a stone to come flying from the assembled crowd, but none came. Her mind was filled with a strange sense of pride as she made her way to the apothecary, but the new emotion had little time to take root, as soon as she opened the door, she noticed a familiar customer at the counter. It was Daimo. He'd clearly been sent here on some kind of family errand because his gang of followers was nowhere to be found. "Oh my god," he sputtered. What are you doing here, freak?" The insult was delivered without force, and Kaine happily ignored it, stretching on tiptoes to see over the counter. She asked the shopkeeper for the medication. "Ha!" barked Daimo. "That old bitch finally keel over? Go to hell, Daimo." The boy's eyes grew so wide they seemed ready to fall out of his head, but before he could let a fly come back, or worse, a punch, the apothecary told them to knock it off before he kicked them out of the store. Daimo slunk out of the shop, cursing Kaine under his breath. Once he was gone, she allowed herself to breathe once more, taking a brief tour of the shop while the owner prepared her medication. Countless tiny balls filled the cramped store, each with a label written in some indecipherable language. An ocean of aromas assaulted her nose, creating a scent that was exotic, but not altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kaine a sense of peace. Surely, in a world so vast, there would be a place that she could call home. On the far wall behind the counter rested a portrait of a stunning young girl. The picture had once contained bright, vibrant colors, but time had worked its magic, and they were beginning to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remained undiminished. "Do you like that picture?" Kaine turned to find the apothecary with a small vial of medicine in his hand. His eyes were gentle but sad, and they seemed to stare through her and into nothing as he spoke. "That's my daughter. I sketched her when she was just a little girl. She's been dead a long time now." Kaine didn't know how to respond. She stared at the portrait and tried to come up with the right words. "Pictures are wonderful things," continued the shopkeeper. "They let the ones closest to you live on forever." He shook his head slightly, then looked down at Kaine and smiled. Handing her the medicine, he reached into his sizable green apron and produced a handful of old wax crayons. "You should have these. There's the one left that I wish to draw." Kaine took an instinctive step back, causing the shopkeeper's face to darken. "Yes, I've heard the rumors about you," he said. "It's a small village, and word travels quickly. Between you and me, I'm not sure which of them to believe, but I also don't think they matter much. I knew your grandmother, Kaine, and I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable." "Grandma's name is Kaine," thought Kaine suddenly. She was still mulling this new fact over in her mind as she reached out and gently took the crowns from the apothecary's hand. "Your grandmother is an old friend of mine," he said as Kaine scooted away yet again, "and I owe her much. I'm willing to wager that she would like it if you drew a picture of her. Yes, I think she would like that very much." Kaine murmured a quiet agreement, but inside her heart was bursting. Never before had a villager treated her with anything but complete contempt. It was a tiny, almost imperceptible step, but it was a step nonetheless, and with enough tiny steps, she might one day discover the rest of the world. When Kaine returned home, she found her grandmother asleep in her bed. Her feet were blackened and raw, even bleeding a bit in places, leading Kaine to think that she had been pacing around the room until exhaustion finally caught up with her. She placed the medicine by her grandmother's pillow and turned to leave, but found the old woman's hand clasped around her arm. "Back already, are you?" asked her grandmother with a yawn. "Come here, let me have a look at you." Grandma sat up and examined Kaine from head to toe, finally satisfied that nothing terrible had befallen her grandchild. She leaned back and allowed herself to relax. "Well, how was it? Did those bastards give you any trouble?" "It was kind of fun," said Kaine with a small smile. "Seriously? No, seriously, it was." "It was fun, was it?" asked her grandmother in a voice which implied she believed anything but. "Aha, so anytime you need me to run an errand, just let me know." As she spoke, Kaine removed the crowns from her pocket. After a brief explanation of their source, she informed her grandmother she was going to sketch her portrait. "A portrait of me? Ridiculous. No one wants to stare at a wrinkled old crone." "But Grandma, I'll make you live forever." "Horse manure," said her grandmother, throwing back the sheet from her bed. "Living forever would just piss me off. Now put those crowns away and help with dinner." But Kaine would not relent, and in the end, Grandma found herself leaning against the wall of their house as if posing for a master artist. Kaine took up the crayons and eyed her subject carefully. Just as her grandmother was about to nod off, Kaine finished the work. After staring at it for a bit, she released it from her grip and let it slowly drift to the floor. "It's terrible. It doesn't look like you at all." "I'm sorry, Grandma. I thought these crayons would, make drawing easier or something." The old woman's eyes narrowed at her granddaughter's disappointment. Let me be be the judge at that, she said, ignoring the pain in her back and reaching for the paper. The sketch could have been a person's face. It also could have been a boulder, a lump of clay, or an incredibly misshapen loaf of bread, all rendered in a chaotic array of colors. The old woman stared at the picture for a long time, then slowly wheezed out a laugh. "Oh, Kaine," she said between laughter, "you truly are my blood. You're as clumsy as me, and I love it. But... hush, I won't hear any more bull about how ugly you think it is. It came from the heart, and I'll treasure it always." True to her word, the old woman gave the picture of a place of honor above the kitchen table. In the days that followed, Kaine would often catch her staring at the portrait with a strange smile on her face, an action she interpreted as silent, mocking laughter. A week later, Kaine could stand it no more, and asked her grandmother to take the artwork down. "Posh," said the old woman. "I'll take this down when they roll me in my shroud." She pondered this for a bit, then turned to Kaine and dropped to one knee. "Listen to me, girl. Seeing this picture makes me happy in a way I've never felt before. And it makes me want to go on, so that someday you can feel the same happiness." It was a moment that burned itself in Kaine's memory, a perfect blend of pride and love and joy that came together to form a lifelong remembrance. She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget the old woman who had made her place in the world possible. Time moves on. People and memories come in and out of a life that, like ghosts passing through a hall. But this moment will be different. Kaine swore, because I'll remember it forever. Forever. Oh man, I'm gonna very soon end this part. Okay. I'm going to end this part right now because I need a bit of a break. And I don't like to end it like this. And I'm gonna begin the next part very weirdly. But I guess I'll record another Nier. The story, I did not intend this to happen. I did not know this was going to happen. But now I seem to have committed to it. So, I'll see you next part where we'll try and finish off Kaine's story. And then maybe I'll just advance a little bit. Because now I'm going to have to at least get a good 45 minutes going. See you next time.